Good afternoon on this sensational Sunday. This is once again your man Brad Rett, your emotional coach, coming at you with another emotional nugget. Today we're going to discuss emotional vulnerability or being emotionally vulnerable. Now, this is a very touchy subject because many of us like to think that, we have it all together. We're this strong Iron Man. We're tough as nails. We can endure and we can handle anything. But are we really enduring these things? Or are we basically masking these things with other emotions by not reacting or not feeling? That's two different things from actually conquering a particular emotion or mastering the emotion. The emotion is going to always be there, but it's how we choose to react to the emotion and allow it to affect us is what's most important when it comes to mastering your emotion. Now, the term vulnerable in the Oxford Dictionary means to be capable of being physically or emotionally wounded, open to attack or damage. Now let's think about that. We're going to throw out the physical. We can keep the physical, but for the sake of emotions, let's look at it emotionally. How can I be emotionally wounded or emotionally hurt? Nobody knows our buttons like those people, especially in our family. I can remember times when my siblings and I would get into arguments, and my particular sibling would know exactly what to say and know exactly what to do to go straight through my defenses and touch that button to hurt my feelings or to affect me, to get me off keel in some kind of way. Now, this is a prime example of becoming emotionally vulnerable. Because I did not deal with those particular emotions or particular currents that yielded a particular response or emotion, I then left an opening for my emotions to begin to take over and me to not think, and I become a person just reacting. See, we don't react to emotions. We have to respond. Difference. Two very different things. When we react to an emotion, we're just basically showing or exhibiting the first defense mechanism that comes to mind. If I talk about you, you talk about me. If I get you make me upset, I get angry. And then I make you angry. You yell at me, I yell at you. See, that's a reaction. But when you respond to a particular situation, you're thinking about the emotions involved. You're assessing the emotions within you, and you're thinking about how I'm going to respond, not react, to this particular emotion. How am I going to do this? So don't worry, we are all vulnerable emotionally to some extent. Nobody's 100% invulnerable. That's just totally impossible. We're humans, we're social beings, we feel. There's nothing you can do about that. However, the most essential thing to understand when you're trying to master your emotions is still, and I always say this, become familiar. Now, I'm not saying focus in all day, all night, every day on that particular area that you know you're weak in, which is important to understand your emotional strengths and your emotional weaknesses. Now, if I sit there and focus in on my emotional weakness too long, eventually what's going to happen is I'm still going to get caught off guard. because I'm paying too much attention to my weakness. It's almost like the little stain on your shirt that nobody else notices, but you know it's there. So you're actually like looking at the stain while the person's looking at you, and it's almost like they don't see it because they're looking at you. But because you look down and keep noticing it, they notice the stain. Ha! Interesting analogy. See, when we're coping with emotions or vulnerability within our emotions, we have to accept the fact that we're vulnerable. We have to recognize that this particular thing hurts me. So what should I do the next time this particular emotion is exposed or has been penetrated? My emotional defense has been penetrated. So how do I respond to this? By simply accepting the fact that it does hurt, thinking about how it makes you feel, thinking about how it makes another person feel, and then now you can respond. Instead of me getting into a shouting match with the person, and this is something that goes on in my field of psychology and mental health, is the shouting match. You never get caught in a shouting match with anybody. The only way you can deal with that is to turn the knob down a decibel. If the person's yelling at you, you continue to talk with the same voice. And sometimes if you get a little lower, you'll notice that that person lowers their tone as well, because the threat or the threat threshold for that person has now went down. If they're yelling and I don't yell, I'm no longer a threat, so there's no need for them to be angry or become upset with me. Now what happens is they have to come from 10 and come down to my level to get the information from me. So understand this. Becoming a familiar with your emotions is a major task. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not always something you can do by yourself. However, I can help you out with that. Your emotional coach. I'm going to be coming up with a particular class. Actually, I already have it together. And I'm going to present to you the opportunity of mastering 5 basic emotions. That's 5 basic emotions. Now, you may think this is simple or this is, a minor particular thing, but these 5 emotions affect how you choose your job. It affects how you carry yourself. It affects your decision-making process as far as like, who do I choose? My friends, my associates. How do I make decisions that's going to lead me to certain goals that I'm trying to reach? And if we sit down and we allow our emotions to get into the way, a lot of times nothing gets done. So mastering your emotions is very important. So later on, I say the next couple weeks, I'm going to be launching a class on emotional mastery. And if you're interested, hit my comment box. I'll get with you and we'll see how we can enroll you in that class. However, but back to emotional vulnerability. You'll never be 100% emotionally vulnerable. You just have to accept that particular emotion, accept the event that triggered that emotion, and respond, not react. We never want to react, because once you react, you've now stepped over into something where now it's going to trigger another response, and you've stepped into no man's land. You really didn't want to hurt a particular person, but you was just matching their energy and their emotions, and nothing good is going to become of that. This is your boy, Brad Rett, your emotional coach, coming at you on this sensational Sunday with an emotional Sunday nugget. Glad to talk to you today. Remember, become familiar with those emotions. You have a wonderful Sunday afternoon. I will. Bye-bye.